Tomorrow marks the first night of Hanukkah, the 8-day Jewish festival of lights, a holiday that, in part, celebrates the idea of hope, of spiritual resilience, feelings which, over the last 3 years, the Jewish community in Squirrel Hill, a neighborhood of Pittsburgh, have come to rely upon. In October of 2018, 11 Jews were murdered while worshiping in a local synagogue. The horrific attack is the subject of a new book, Squirrel Hill, The Tree of Life Synagogue and the Soul of a Neighborhood. We visited Squirrel Hill with author Mark Oppenheimer to explore how the entire community rallied, illuminating the idea of hope to overcome the darkness of hate.
This is Aylesboro Avenue. This is where my dad grew up.
Mark Oppenheimer can trace his family history back 3 generations here in Squirrel Hill, a Pittsburgh neighborhood that has held fast to its roots since its founding around the time of World War I.
I pretty quickly picked up on the fact that there was something special about this, that it had had this stable Jewish minority for 100 years, and that it was unique in American history.
While Oppenheimer grew up outside the area, he was shaken when Squirrel Hill became the site of the deadliest anti-Semitic attack in American history.
We are pinned down by gunfire. He's firing out of the front of the building with an automatic weapon.
On October 27, 2018, Robert Bowers entered the Tree of Life Synagogue with 3 handguns and a semi-automatic rifle. He's accused of fatally shooting 11 people and wounding 6 others. Everyone killed was Jewish, members of 3 separate congregations using the same synagogue to worship.
And I pretty quickly realized that I had something of a calling to write about this, not just as a journalist who's covered religion, but also as someone with a very personal stake in this particular neighborhood.
Oppenheimer visited Squirrel Hill 32 times, interviewing more than 200 people for what ultimately became his latest book, Squirrel Hill, The Tree of Life Synagogue Shooting and the Soul of a Neighborhood.
One of the things that people pointed out to me was that these ties, both among Jews of different denominations, but also between Jews and Muslims, Jews and Christians, these weren't ties that they created on October 27, 2018, the morning or afternoon of the killing. That this was a neighborhood of people who turned out for each other, not just online or not just in phone calls, but physically. That people bumped into each other at these stores, at these little shops, at these family-owned businesses, and hugged each other and cooked for each other and really did for each other, not just in digital space, but in real-life analog space.
It's that neighborhood bond Oppenheimer details in his book, like the steps taken by strangers within the Jewish community to ensure religious traditions were followed for the dead, despite the chaos that comes with a mass shooting.
Pittsburgh is very special in that the Squirrel Hill Jewish community has a lot of cooperation between the Orthodox, the conservative, Reform, secular Jews. All the different communities have not just what you would call interfaith cooperation, but intrafaith.
And that's not always the case.
And that is not always the case.
The book also contains accounts from survivors, like Rabbi Jonathan Perlman. He escaped the building, but 3 members of his New Light congregation were killed.
It's been over 3 years, but for you personally, does it feel like you are that far removed from that day?
No, I feel it's like it's still with me. It seems like it happened yesterday. I look at the faces of members of our shul and they just don't know what to say.
But Rabbi Perlman is consoled by memories of how people of all backgrounds supported one another in a time of need.
I'm glad the testimony about the shooting is out there for people to read about, and the ways in which the entire region can come together to say when you are hateful towards one group within our circle, we are going to repel you, and we are going to stand in solidarity with these people, make sure that they are protected.
It's a message the neighborhood continues to send, with images created in the wake of the shooting ever present.
The non-Jewish manager of the Starbucks got a non-Jewish Roman Catholic friend of hers who was an artist to come paint Jewish symbols in the windows.
This stronger than hate symbol quickly became synonymous with Squirrel Hill. Oppenheimer dug into its origins and found graphic designer Tim Hines.
You're not Jewish, right?
I'm not Jewish.
Why did you feel compelled to do something?
I wanted to show my support. that was something that was really important to me, was showing my support and solidarity. I started with the simple image of the steel logo and, swapped out one of those diamonds for a Star of David, and swapped out the steel name and added stronger than hate.
Hines made the image available for free. It was downloaded more than 20,000 times.
The only way that we're going to rid ourselves of hate is to continually spread acts of love. And whatever skill set someone has, whether it's graphic design or whether it's the ability to clean up someone's yard, those acts of love go a long way in battling hate.
The synagogue is still not in use. No one has prayed inside it since that morning.
On the fences still surrounding the Tree of Life Synagogue, it is depictions of love and unity that you find today.
There's some people who want to go back inside and use that same space as a tribute to the victims.
Right.
There are other people who feel that the best thing they can do for the community is never use that space again and reconfigure the inside to do something different.
This right now is so powerful. Obviously, I haven't been here before, but seeing the Stars of David in the building, it really is impactful.
A reminder of the hate that visited Squirrel Hill, but also of the hope that followed.
What did you find in this community? Is it stronger now than it even was before?
I don't know that you could measure any community's strength in such a way that you could say it's stronger, but it's definitely as strong. There are communities in America that after a mass killing have come apart at the seams, where people are at each other's throats. They're fighting over money. They're fighting over how to memorialize the bodies. They're fighting over what to do with buildings. There have been suicides of survivors. And what you can say is that none of the worst things that could have happened have come to Squirrel Hill. They managed to dodge all the worst case scenarios. And I think that is a tribute to the pre-existing strength of the neighborhood ties.
And just being in that community for the day, you really could feel this bond. And I know maybe that's not unique just to Squirrel Hill, that there are other communities like that, but it made such a difference as the healing continues. Rabbi Perlman told me he hasn't read this book. He doesn't watch the reports about it. He is still in the healing process, as so many others are.
I remember being there immediately after, and he is absolutely right. What he points out in that story is that people came to support other people in person,
Right.
not just with phone calls or online. It was being there physically to support them.
It's the fact that it happened. It's such a sacred place. And when that happens, you can't even touch the anger and also the hope that we can get better in making our world more loving.
And that's what they want to focus on, is that hope that comes from that moment of hate.